Hello everyone and welcome to Inside the VAFA. It's a very special edition with the General Manager of Football and Umpiring joining myself, Joe Pignataro, Jason Bennett and Paddy Grindlay. That's Dale Christie. Hello Dale.
Hello Joey, gentlemen. How are we going?
Good, thank you.
How are you, Paddy?
I'm good, Dale.
Good, mate.
Paddy's always going great. You spoke to us a month ago about the whole fixture that was rolled out. We're 4 weeks into it. You touched on it on For the Love of the Game earlier on in the week. We've had to regrade, particularly Premier Women's, and you talked about the Melbourne Uni Women's. We've had to regrade Premier B Women's, Under-19s and Premier Thirds. 16 divisions have had to be regraded. That's a hectic first month of the season, Dale.
It's not ideal.
No, it's definitely not ideal.
It's not ideal. So, so we've obviously got a number of pillars. Obviously, at VAFA, we've got integrity. We've got competitive balance. So we've got divisions that are regraded. So, the women's 19s and thirds. Our primary objective in those divisions is competitive balance. You can't have competitive balance and structural integrity, which means when I talk about structural integrity, so I'm talking about if you've got 5 divisions, we can't all have 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. In an ideal world, fantastic. You play everyone twice, there's 18 rounds. When you bring regrading into it, we might have a 7, we might have an 11, we might have a 12, we might have an 8.
Just purely because of the standard of the teams that are available.
Of the teams.
Yep.
And because those divisions are under the guise of a regrading policy, that's the front and foremost. So we don't want to have teams getting smashed and then not want to play. And then we lose, participants to the game. Clubs might, teams might fall over completely.
Well, this is the first time I'm pretty sure that we've had the regrading from the Premier Women's section when it comes to having a team come out and a team go in. A couple of years ago, the old Zavarians started in William Buck Premier Women's, but their team didn't have enough numbers, so they forfeited from the competition and didn't go into another section, nor did we bring another team up. But the Melbourne Uni Women's is a fascinating one for me because they're probably the oldest and most recognisable women's club. They're going down, and Bo Morris is the team that has said, yes, we're happy to come up.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess, we obviously didn't plan to regrade Premier Women's.
Yep.
We didn't want to at any stage. So much so that we were actually planning next year to have Premier B reserves rejoin. So this year there's no reserves, knowing that we wanted to find who are the next 10 best clubs we've got. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks out before the start of the season, Melbourne Uni just had a massive drop-off of players. I'm talking 60 players, which means they could not field a reserve side, which meant that we had then a bye. Over the regrading period, they're just not competitive at senior level, so we had to make the call. And we communicated to our clubs that we have to include Premier Women's in regrading, which is, again, not what we wanted, but for the purpose of having a competitive balance mindset across our women's division, we included Premier Women's. Now, Melbourne Uni have now gone down to Premier B. And luckily for us, Bowie have been really, really strong. So Bowie have got 2 women's sides in, I think, for the first time. And both of their sides are really, really, really strong. And that's obviously after the incidents in the post pre-season. So, hats off to Bowie and everything they've done there. And they are super excited to be joining Premier Women's. It's a big, big step for them. And now we've got, fantastic stuff.
And Old Yarra's dropping down to Premier B as well.
Old Yarra coming down as well, and for the same reason. If we're going to incorporate regrading, they have certainly shown that they are not competitive.
So from a ladder perspective then, if you've had a fill-up already against Melbourne Uni and beaten them by 30-odd goals and you've got the percentage, everything from that, how do you reconcile the ladders? How do you balance the ladders up for the teams that have played them and teams that haven't?
Yeah, theoretically, it's really easy. Manually, it's a manual process, and that's, regrading 16 divisions and 16 different ladders. So the theory being that if you are going into a division, e.g. Bo Morris, you retain all of your points and all your percentage. If you are dropping out, e.g. Melbourne Uni, you are coming down with nothing.
Right.
You're starting fresh.
Yep.
On the knowledge that we don't want you to, we've acknowledged that you're not strong enough.
Yep.
You're now going down a division. You're going to take a percentage of 14 with you. And, 500 points against, 20 points for.
Yep.
That's a waste of time. So if you're coming down a division, you don't take anything with you, no baggage at all, start again.
Yep.
If you're going up, though, we're saying, we're going to put you into a better division. You're going to keep everything that you've got that's got you there in the first place. So what that means, if you are in a division that you're not moving, you just retain everything you've already got. So from a ladder perspective, Bo Morris will come in at, 16 points.
Yep.
What are the knock-on effects across the divisions?
Everything now.
Yeah.
So that means that while not every team is being regraded, every division is affected by regrading, unfortunately. So what that means is, all 4 divisions of women, 6 women, 4 19s and 6 thirds are all being regraded and now refixtured, which is a nightmare.
Is this purely just till we find a stable balance when it comes to women's football and women's programs? Because we may have touched on this a couple of weeks ago. It's purely an example that is playing out right now. Powerhouse is so far ahead in Division 3 men's, yet I imagine you ask them, would you like to be regraded right now and play in Division 2? Their initial answer might be, no thanks, because here's a chance for us to win a premiership in Division 3. We go to Division 2 as the 11th best team. Until we get to a point where our women's football program across X amount of clubs is stable, then we will look at, no, we won't be regrading in, say, 4, 5, 6, however many years from now.
100%. We had the theory and the want this year to say, look, our top 3 divisions next year will go to promotion relegation. That's where we thought we'll headed.
Yep.
Based on this year, we're nowhere near that, unfortunately.
Which is totally fair, by the way, with clubs, and they're not sure whether...
It's just a reality, isn't
correct,
it? It's just a practical reality, as you said, Dale, at the start, of players coming in and out from year to year. I mean, you are where you are. And it's no one's fault. It's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
And you can either sit back and just let teams get brained every week and then lose players and potentially have clubs fold, or you can put them into competitive divisions where every week means something and there's good games every week and it's a challenge for everyone.
You're right, because we're talking about Melbourne Uni Women's, who, when this competition started in 2017, 28, they were the undefeated team. They were the side playing in the grand finals with Marsland. It has been a staggering fall away the last 12, 24 months, particularly with those girls. So I'll be interested to see how quickly they can bounce back.
Dale, how do you weigh up the pushback? Because as Joey's quite rightly pointed out, no club wants to get graded upwards and make life harder for themselves.
Not when there's a premiership chance
and
involved.
everybody wants to get graded downwards. But at some point, you've got to look at the overall good of the competition, and that outweighs the good of or the desire of a particular club. Do you need a club's permission to regrade them? What sort of factors are you looking at when you're deciding which teams are potentially going to get regraded, particularly upwards? And what part does the club's buy-in play to that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess the first element is that we've spent the last sort of, since I've been here 3 seasons trying to build really good relationships with our clubs so that and really build an open communication channel. So the decisions we make aren't rash. They're, they've got an idea of what we're doing. So when it does come down to making a tough call on a club, we can at least have a robust conversation about it rather than just thinking we're, dictators. So often clubs will actually have some pretty good points, even though after we've made a decision, and we did that on the weekend. So we regraded on the weekend. We communicated to clubs this is what it looks like. A few clubs came back and said, look, we understand how hard it is, but just so you know, look at X, Y, and Z. We've considered everything. Now, some of the times we know that, most clubs have got their club caps on and they're looking through different tainted glasses. We have to see through that and look at what's best for the competition. But occasionally and often, and as you know, we're a small team. It's good to have another set of eyes. So when we've got the entire competition looking at something, occasionally we will get a good point and we go, yeah, all right, we can't actually do that. So we're gonna change it, which we've done. The backlash, is never good putting someone up unless a club really wants to from a branding perspective. E.g., like Bowie going into Premier Women's is a really, really good thing for their club. It's massive from a branding perspective.
It'll help them recruit players in the future. It establishes them as an elite women's program.
And as we know, Premier, it opens it up to play Big V Women's since they're now in Premier Women. That's where the VFL scouts go.
Yep.
It's a big move. The lower you go down, often you don't really want to go up because, you're probably going to take a premiership off a club by doing so. That can't be our focus. Our focus isn't on wins and losses. It's about having it the most even possible division on what we've got, the information we've got on hand.
As you mentioned, it's been a big week of rolling stuff out. Is there still more fixtures, et cetera, to be done? Where does everybody go to get the new information about where are we playing, what division are we in, what's our fixture look like, who are we playing next week?
Yep. From a short-term perspective, so our women's structure is done. We're currently refixturing that now. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, there are divisions now with buys in them, especially Premier Women, which is, again, it's not ideal. It's not what we wanted, but it's the life we're in now. Fixturing with a buy is really difficult. It's really hard. So we're working through that process now. We expect to have all the women's fixtures done in the next sort of 24 to 48 hours. From a hierarchy perspective, we need to fixture all of our women's grades before we do 19s, before we do thirds from a venue availability perspective. So that's our process. Obviously, the thirds will be the last ones to do. So, thirds Division 5, which will be our lowest division, will possibly go into Thursday.
So head to vafa.com.au for all the details for round 5. That'll be up on the website by Thursday. And obviously, keep in touch with everyone around your footy club.
100%, yeah. We'll be in constant contact with clubs.
Dale, thank you for jumping on and joining us on Inside the VAFA. We'll keep up to date with everything going on the website. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, gentlemen.